which you have been advocating, because they all applaud that. But the reality is, for example, the latest news that the United States has decided to withdraw from the funding coming from the UNRWA, which is providing funding for the Palestinian refugees, millions of them. And this is a decision made by one country, and it's going to have a big impact on the Middle East as a whole. So, Mr. Secretary General, I know you've been advocating for others to come up in order to fill that hole, but the question is, the logic you've been talking about certainly has been disagreed by some of the biggest powers in the world. What can you do?
Now, first of all, to recognize the importance of the work that is being done, to provide education, to provide health care to the Palestine refugees is extremely important, not only for their well-being, it's extremely important from the point of view of the peace and security in the region. Can you imagine what it will be if millions of people all of a sudden be completely deprived of all rights and services that benefit them at the present moment? And so when we were told and when we verified that indeed the United States had dramatically reduced their funding, we immediately launched a huge campaign mobilizing the whole of the international community. Yesterday again I asked President Xi Jinping an increase in Chinese solidarity to allow for UNRWA to go on doing its work, providing health care, providing education, providing support to the poorest families, guaranteeing that the Palestine refugees can have a minimum of their dignity being respected, which is also absolutely must in order to avoid a major confrontation, a major increase of the risks of conflagration in the area.
As the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Secretary General, are you prepared, or do you have a plan B if some of the concerned parties continue to do and to provoke in terms of the rules of the world? Do you have a plan B? Once again, how would you handle the ever-evolving situation every day, it seems, Mr. Secretary General?
Well, we only have a plan A. Our plan A is the Charter of the United Nations, is to do everything we can, everywhere, to, first of all, prevent conflicts and to try to solve them, to be able to promote an agenda that was agreed by all countries in the world, the Agenda 2030 for sustainable development, for inclusive development, for a fair globalization, to fight against climate change, that is the most dramatic threat to our life as a planet, and at the same time to promote human rights in all its dimensions, economic, social, political, civilian. So this is our agenda, this is the Charter, this is what we must do. If something fails here or there, we need to do everything possible to mobilize the international community in order to be able to fill the gaps that might exist. And I must say that even if we feel that there are countries that no longer are supporting several initiatives or whatever, I see more and more the young people totally committed to cosmopolitan values. If you talk of the youth doesn't like protectionism. The youth doesn't like nationalism. The youth likes to feel
they're much more beyond borders.
Citizens of the world.
Yes.
They communicate everywhere, and this is my hope for the future. So we are having some hiccups at the present moment, but we'll overcome them.